The sweeter side of blues, you know that sound. It can be found in this very simple and very flexible pattern called the major blues box. Let's find out how this thing works. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome, friends, to this episode of the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee, and this is the podcast that's determined to help make you a better guitar player. No matter if you're just starting out or you've been playing for years, this is the show that will help you become the guitarist that you always wanted to be. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and check out the description for all of the links from the show. Ended early again this week. What's up with that? It's the cameras, I think. Well, let's talk about this. You hear of economy picking, and this is a method that saves you time, saves you effort, and it does it by removing unneeded pick strokes across strings. We've all heard about that one. Then there's another one that's called economy of movement. You hear this in classical guitar a lot. This is a technique which keeps the fingers close to the fretboard and only moving when it's appropriate for them to move. But I've been fascinated for years by a player who uses a different type of economy. B.B. King, right? And his economy of the fretboard. He's a master at this. How many different sounds he can get that blur the lines of major and minor. They blur the lines of happy and sad. This is one of the reasons why he's, in my opinion, one of the most expressive players to ever play the guitar. If you forget for a moment that he's B.B. King and he's just some other guitar player, you forget all the things that come with being famous and all those things, but just listen to his lines. If you think about it, in music, we're giving two emotional temperatures. You've got happy, major, and sad, minor. If you play in major, it's as happy as it gets. It's super happy. We can't get any happier than that. If you play in minor, it's as sad as we can get. It's super sad. Sure, there are things that we can do to emphasize the happiness. Those kind of things. But we can emphasize the sadness too. But the harmony's there. It's going to be either super happy or super sad. The extremes. That's kind of terrible communication. Right? If every time you spoke to someone and you only had two speeds, you were as happy as you could be or as sad as you can be, and that's it. That's not how we actually are. If you think about it, there may be only one time in your life where you're as happy as you'll ever be, if you're lucky. And the same goes for sadness too. Not lucky for that one. The vast majority of the time, we're somewhere in the middle. We're experiencing things like contentment and joy, apathy, boredom, hopefulness, depression, enthusiasm, delight, grief, confusion. We experience all these different things. None of them are completely happy and completely sad. So when you get someone like B.B. King who cracks the code, he cracked the musical code, and he was actually able to communicate real everyday emotions. People take notice to that. He could seamlessly blend pure happiness and pure sadness into many different shades of emotion, of human emotion. And he did it while he was barely moving positions on the guitar in one place. He could get all these blended sounds right there. Now, I know that that's not the only area that B.B. King played on the guitar. If you watch any video of The Thrill Is Gone, you'll see him play in pattern 1 and also in pattern 2. And then the B.B. box is what we're talking about, which is really around where pattern 3 is. And then he would jump up to hit the high note, the high root note. And though he did that kind of like punctuation or emphasis. But the majority and the complexity of his playing all stayed in that one little area, the B.B. box, or the major blues box is what we're talking about today. If you haven't heard last week's podcast, make sure you jump over and take a listen to that. We started with the minor blues box, the Albert King box, and that's really the top of pattern 2. And we took a look at how you can use and bend the notes around this simple shape to get many other sounds. Well, today we're going to take that idea and then it's going on and we're going to give it some gasoline. We're going to give it a major jumping off point. I'll talk about the thinking behind this pattern. I'll talk about the way it's used. I'll give some examples today, but remember that this coming Monday, you can see the video version of this podcast and learn along with me. I'm putting them out on Mondays from the week before. And to continue today's lesson, I've also got something else I'm doing. I have a very valuable part 2 to this. Some extra stuff, actually even more interesting, that goes along with the tabs and the charts and the backing tracks that are available to people in the Academy. So if you sign up for the Academy, you can get access to part 2 of this and all of the other things that go along with it. And if you want to do that, I have a link in the show notes. If you want to do that, I have a link in the show notes for you to get access to part 2. So we're going to take a look at this today. Let's take a look at this awesome tool and we're going to see how we can use it to start playing some fantastic blues licks in one area that speak directly to the emotions of your audience. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 licks that we're going to go through today. But I also have some diagrams as well. Here's the first one. We're in the key of G. We've got our first finger right on the 8th fret. So last week in minor, we used our 3rd finger on the 8th fret. Now we're using our first finger on the 8th fret. And it's the same pattern as last week. It's 1, 3, 1, 3 on the top 2 strings. So we have 8th fret, 10th fret on the B, 8th fret, 10th fret on the E string. And this is putting us into a little bit more major territory. We're also going to use the other note, just like we did last week on the G string that's in between the two. This one's on the 7th fret. This will be the E in the key of G. You can already hear it's a much sweeter sound than last week. It makes me feel like playing every time I play this. My hand is staying in the same place. It's not moving around. I am here at the 8th fret with my first finger and getting all these different happy, sweet sounds. Now, if you take a look at these notes, we have the root note, we have the 2nd degree of the scale, we have the 4th, and we have the 5th. So there's no major 3rd in this so far. And the other note that we put in there was the E, which was the major 6th, right? That's the only one that really tells us whether it's major or minor, having that major 6th in there. But what we can do is we can add in a major 3rd. Now, what I'll do is I'll take my first finger and move back 1 fret to the major 3rd. That would be the B here. So right behind the C, B. So that makes it sound super major, right? So already we can take some of these ideas and make them even more happy if we want to. The next thing that's added in on this is the minor 3rd. We can throw that in as well. We add that on the B string up a fret. So on the 10th fret, we have our 2nd degree of the scale. 1 step from that higher is the 3rd. Minor 3rd. So far, we've got the BB box, right? The major blues box. We have the major 3rd. We can add in the minor 3rd. We can add in. So right there, the fact that we have at our disposal within 1 fret back and forth, the ability to add in the major 3rd and the minor 3rd. Right there, I can start blending emotions. I'm back and forth. I'm a little bit happier here, a little bit happier there. It's a really neat thing. So after we get there, we've got our major 3rd, we've got our minor 3rd. Another thing that we can add in is our sharp 4 or the flat 5. That's the note that's in between the two notes on the high string. So that's in between the fourth and the fifth. In this instance, it's the C to D. This will be the C sharp. Another thing that we can do with this is we can go to the sixth. So we have a sixth already in that low E, but we can go, I slid up to it this time. So we can go up to the 12th fret. We can slide our third finger up 2 frets to the 12th fret and get that major sixth in there. Talking about all the different things we can do, whether we're in a minor key or a major key with that sixth right there. So we've got our major third, our minor third, we've got our sharp 4, which is also the flat 5. We've added our sixth in there too. And then now we can also go back and forth from the minor third to the major third, kind of like a bluegrass thing. So the regular BB box, the minor third, major third, I'm bending up to them, sixth. So not only can you slide to those notes, you can bend from the BB box to get those notes as well. So that's the basic sounds that we can add to the regular sweet sound of the major blues box. Now I call it the major blues box because it has that sweet sound. It has the major sixth in there. But as you'll see in minor keys, you can use it as well because it doesn't really define the third so much. You can choose which one you want to use. So let's move over here to our tabs. I've got 5 for you in this video. The first one is, I call it the box with vibrato and slides. This is a major sixth that we're going to be sliding up to. So we're starting with this slide. 1, 2. So we're starting with the bottom of the blues box, 9 to 8. We'll do that a lot in these, and then we're sliding up to the 12, giving it some vibrato, and then we'll go back to the 10, and then we'll bend the 10th fret on the B string and end up on the root. Okay, so what does that sound have? That sound has the major sixth, and then a little bit of a bend on the 10th fret, which is a little minor third bend there. So we're getting the happiness of the sixth and the sadness of the minor third. Okay, now let's take a look at our next one. Next one, we're going to start doing some major sounding bends. So if we were in a major sounding, dominant sounding blues, this one has 9th fret, 8th fret on the B string, full bend on the 10th. That's bending up to the major third, then back to the 10, and then back to the root. And then we're going to do the bend on the high string too, up to the, this will be on the D note. So ready, 1, 2, ready, go, 1. So, if you're not around your guitar, if you can imagine this, the box, 8 to 10, 8 to 10, the two notes with your third finger on both on a 10th fret, they are both are great bending notes in this. Okay, let's move on to getting some more of the major third here. So we have a 1. That's the lick. Let's take a look at it. So we start on the 9th, like we've been doing, sliding into the 6th. We go to the root note, the 2nd. Now the major third. Back to the root. So now we're going to the high note of the box, and then going back to the 7th fret on that high E string, which is that major third that we've added in. Super happy sound. Major third, along with this box, is really, really sweet sounding. But we can do lick a little bit more with that. This one, we're going to take a look at the minor third going into the major third. So let's take a look at this lick here. We start on the 9th fret of the G string, 8th fret on the B, and then that's the root, and then the 10th fret. This is all in the box. Now we're going to add the 11th fret on that string. We'll slide up one to give us our minor third. There it is right there. So the 6th degree of the scale, then the root, the 2nd, the minor third, the major third, minor third, 2nd. We just walked back down. 1. 4, 1. Little half step bend there. Bending up from the minor third to the major third. Ending on the major third. Cool. That's a neat sound. I think I'm going to use that. Just adding that minor third and sliding into the major third, playing between those two notes, getting different levels of expression. And the last lick we're going to take a look at today is the sharp 4 and flat 5. We're going to add that into our little major sounding blues box. 9th fret on the G, 8th fret on the B, 10th fret. This is our 5th up top there. It's a D note. And we're going to walk it back 3 half steps. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Very cool. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1. I like that bend. The full step, major third bend. So there we go. There are 5 different licks that you can use with this super simple major blues box. A lot of them are BB King. All you need to do for the BB King stuff is go up for the root note as your exclamation point there. This is really neat. And what I like about this is you're getting some advanced harmony. Say you do, he plays this pattern in Thrill Is Gone, which is a minor sound. What he does is he doesn't go for the major third, he goes for the minor third, but he still is using the E note in there, which is the major 6 that comes from the major scale. That's also the sound of Dorian. So when he plays this pattern, he can take a look for what major third or minor third, if he even wants to play them at all. A lot of times, especially in a dominant 7th blues, he won't even touch them. He'll just go through right? And then he could, in dominant 7th, you could use the major third or the minor third. You could use either one, and it would sound wonderful on the dominant 7th, on a regular blues. And a minor blues, that 5th gives it a Dorian sound. So he's getting a lot of different sounds, a lot of mileage from one little shape that he can pick and choose notes that are around it to do some really fun stuff. That was fun. I love sharing these things that actually help in life. The BB King box, when I discovered it, it was huge. I was getting all sorts of cool sounds out of it. I was playing these sweet blues sounds that I wasn't able to do with the minor pentatonic scale. But it wasn't so major. It doesn't really go straight to the major third. You can use it if you want to, but it's not in there. So it was really important. And I hope you, even if you don't play blues, look at the economy of fretboard movement with this and learn something from that. You don't have to jump around like bar chords. Oh, I play my D bar chord here, my G bar. Everything that you have is under your fingers. And this is a great example of that. No matter any chord, any scale that you need is right where your hand happens to be at the time on the guitar. And I hope you start to see that. And join me for the part 2. I'm going to record that in just a minute. And later on today, we're getting together for our holiday get together, a little live stream from an undisclosed location for Academy members. And I hope you join me with that too. Obviously, by the time you hear this, that'll be long over, but have a great holiday. I'll be back next week, regular time. And I want to hear all about your progress for the year. I know I've made some progress for the year. I'd like to hear about yours. You can just share that with me over on Facebook, or go to my website, hit the contact form, and send me an email. I'd love to hear where you started at the beginning of the year and where you're at now. I want to hear about all this progress. Okay. All right. So we're going to call it. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. And if you've benefited from this podcast, please leave a favorable Apple Podcasts, iTunes review. It's the best way to make sure we get this very valuable content to more guitar players around the world. And if more help, structure, and results in your guitar playing sound good to you, what are you waiting for? The Academy is here. Join the world's most exciting and carefully planned guitar system. And together we will build your online home base for guitar. Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.